Shalom, Yada and Israel, Yada, this time. May the peace of Yah be with each and every one of you brothers and sisters. At this time, I'm doing this video at the time to show my brothers and sisters that don't know the facts and truths about the words of Yah. It's very important, brother and sister, the time we are in and how we should focus on every words of Yah. I'm doing this video for the second time because my brother went dead on me and I lost the whole video. So I had to find some energy, and I pray that God give me the energy to make it through this video because I must go through the whole chapter of Hosea. I might have to do this in several different videos. But first, I'm going to give you some time periods of our nation and some things that took place. So you can be aware of these things because the prophet Hosea, he is from the northern kingdom called Yada. Excuse me. From the northern kingdom called Israel, Yah, Father give me strength. And the prophet Isaiah is from the southern kingdom called Yada. And so I want to share some things with you. I was looking for my text I used earlier. Okay, I found it, brothers and sisters. Called the New American Bible. To share some time periods with you. Because I want to read some information about the Maccabees time period, brother and sister, that is very important. To show you how all these things ties in together. That is very important, brother and sisters, because we have to prove all things, because the enemy of Yah that you will see bitterly hates of Yah and of Yah people, done these things to mislead us. And they brought forth a Messiah that is not true. And they use the Hebrew text to screw our people up with the falsehood lies they add to it. Brother and sister. So we're going to get into these things because it's very important. And I'm going to be reading from the book called the Maccabees in a moment. I'm just trying to get to the book of the Maccabees real quick. On the second Maccabees, and so I can share this information with you. Okay. Okay, I have it set to go when I'm ready for it. And so, during this time, brothers and sisters, we talking about the prophet Hosea, just like I got this title. The prophet Hosea crushes the New Testament Christian falsehood. And when I get there, brothers and sisters, you're going to see all of these things for yourselves. Because in Hosea time period, Abiyah gave him these prophecies. In 722 BCE, would they say the basic common era, before the common era. In 722, the nation Israel was expelled from the land by the Syria Empire. And so some of the Hebrew people of the northern nation of Israel was taken down to Egypt, and some throughout the northern region of Syria. So some of Abiyah's sons went down into Egypt, just like the scripture shows. And that's why it's a prophet to say one day he called his sons from out of Egypt. And so the children of the northern kingdom was expelled out of the land for over 2,700 years, brothers and sisters. A long time. So keep these things in mind as I go over some of these dates. And 113 years later, Yada was taken into captivity by Babylon in the time period of 609 BCE. And they were in Babylon for 70 years, brothers and sisters, to 539 BCE. And during that time, Persia rose up and conquered, the Medes and Persians conquered Babylon. And so, and at that time, it was a Persian king named Cyrus, Koresh, who was the only Messiah other than that came from another nation. That our Father Yah called him a Messiah. That made a decree for the children of Israel, Yah, those who wanted to, Yah, to go home and rebuild the temple. So it was completed around 478. And right after the Persian Empire, we have the Greece come on the scene. And so 312 years later, the temple was defiled, the second temple, by the Greek. I'm going to read it. And so, and during this time period, in 168 BCE, the Maccabees rebellion came against the Greek. Yes, empire trying to take over and take sole control of Yada, Israel, Yada, the land, even the capital city, to change everything. And when I get into this, you can see how this prophet this prophet Hosea, I got a lot of people in my mind. Ahaz was the king of Yada, also during the time period of Hosea, and also during the time period of Isaiah, what I'm going to talk about a little in chapter 7 concerning the virgin birth, the sign. Prophet Hosea was of the northern kingdom, and the prophet Isaiah was of the southern kingdom, Yada. And these prophecies went into the earth, brothers and sisters. Because I want to share with you some of these time periods, because a lot of things took place during this time period. Yes, brothers and sisters. A lot of prophecies went forth. A lot of things took place during this time period. And right after Yada got out of the land, the Edomites came in the land as well. And even there unto this day, many of them, with other European nations as well, brothers and sisters, that is in our land, to pretending to be us. And both Hosea and Isaiah, both prophets, they witnessed the collapse of the northern kingdom. by the Assyrian in 722. It's very important to understand these things, brothers and sisters, because both of them prophesied of these things. And even the virgin baby was born during this time period. 700 years earlier than what the New Testament Christians stated. And many other people repeats. So very important. I want to read you a little bit about the defilement of this temple in 166 BCE. So we're talking about 2,100 years ago, a little bit more than 2,000 years, the defilement of the temple. But first, let me read you a little bit information in 2 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. It said the Yahudims in Yashalom, which is to the modern term Jerusalem, and in the land of Yadea, send greetings to their brethren, the Yahudims in Egypt. You see, you will hear more about that when I talk about get into the book and deep into Hosea. See, it's the Yahudim in Egypt and wish them true peace. And then it said, and may Barah, who is the creator, bless you and remember his covenant with his faithful servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It said, may he give to all of you a heart to worship him and to do his will readily and generously. May he open your heart to his law and his commandments and grant you peace. It said, may he hear your prayers and be reconciled to you and never forsake you in the time of adversity. Even now we are praying for you. In the reign of Demetrius, the year 169, we Yahudim wrote to you during the trouble and violence that overtook us in those years after Jason and his followers had revolted against the Kodesh land and the kingdom, setting fire to the gatehouse and shedding innocent blood. But we prayed to Yah, and our prayers was heard. We offered offerings and fine flour, and we lighted the lamps and set out loaves of bread. We are now we are now reminding you to celebrate the feast of Booth in the month of Cheslev, date in the year 188. See, and this is what letters went out. The first letters went out to those who was in Egypt, to the Yahudims in Egypt. See, the brothers knew that at that time, know that. And brothers, as I'm gonna go to Micah and read a little bit more from Micah Maccabees chapter 2 of Maccabees, verse 1 to 11. And this talk about the desecration of the temple, defilement of the temple. It says, not long after this, the king sent a Athenian senator to force the Yahudim to abandon the customs of their ancestors. You see that? And live no longer by the laws of Barah. See, they were forcing them to do this in their own land. Because remember, Abiyah's judgment was coming upon them that the prophets told them. If they turned out to Abiyah, these things was going to come upon them. How a first nation was going to come in and desecrate them. So let me keep reading. It's also to profane the temple of Yashalom and dedicate it to Olympian Zeus. They got a footnote there. Let me see what the footnotes say. It's a Olympian Zeus equates with the Syrian Baal, Shomin, the Lord of the heavens, the term which the Yahudim render as Shakas Shomin, a horrible abomination. They saw this as a great horrible abomination, this Olympian Zeus, and that the Mount Gerizim to Zeus. See, they said dedicate these things. That's what was told them by the senator to force the Yahudim to abandon their custom, but to dedicate the pagan gods in the temple and around the temple. It's saying the Mount of Gerizim to Zeus, the hospitable. It's as the inhabitants of the place requested, this intensified the evil in an intolerable and utterly disgusting way. It said the Gentiles filled the temples with debauchery and rivalry. They amused themselves with prostitutes. All this is going on, brothers and sisters, in the temple. It said that was dedicated to our Yah. It said amused themselves with prostitutes, as in it fertility cults of the ancient Near East. Then see footnotes. I'm not gonna get into all the footnotes right now. So let me keep reading. I'm just showing some history, some things what took place back then, and how people was treated and forced those who obeyed. But we had the Maccabees rebelled, and some with them. So let me read it. It said, and had intercourse with women. Let me go back up. They amused themselves with prostitutes and had intercourse with women even in the Kodesh court. They also brought into the temple things that were forbidden, so that the altar was covered with abominable offerings prohibited by the laws, like swine meat and whatever else they brought in there. So let me keep reading. It said, abolishing of the law. It said, a man could not keep the Sabbath or celebrate traditional feasts, nor even admit that he was a Yahudim. You see that? They were forcing this way back then, brothers and sisters. 2,100 years ago, they was forcing this on our ancestors. The same thing they got. They don't want us to admit who we are today. They want us to deny. That's what they call us Negro, colored, black, and African Americans. So let me keep reading. It said, moreover, at the monthly celebration of the king's birthday, the Yahudims had, from bitter necessity, to partake of the offerings. And when the festival of Dionys, so they got a footnote. It said Dionys called also Bacchus, the god of the grape harvest and wine. Ivory was one of his symbols. They were forced to do these things to the festival of Bacchus was celebrated, and they were compelled to march in his possessions. Today, what they call parades, wearing wreaths of ivory. You know, the wreaths of the ivory, like they had the wreaths around the head of ivory. Make you think about they Jesus. They said hung on the stake, they Savior. So and let me keep reading. It said at the suggestion of the citizens of Bartholomew, a decree was issued ordering the neighboring Greek cities to act in the same way against the Yahudim. See, to come into unison and to treat all the Yahudim people this way. oblige them to partake of the offerings, and put to death those who would not consent to adopt the customs of the Greeks. See, those who didn't want to consent to adopt to the custom of the Greek, and say straight up put them to death. This is what they ordered. It said it was obvious, therefore, that disaster impeded, because those who love Yah wouldn't go for that. So it was imminent death upon these people unless they escape. So let me out of them territories, it said that's 2 women who were arrested for having circumcised their children were publicly paraded about the city. You see, these like handmaidens, and they had the knowledge to circumcise the sons of our sisters. And they publicly paraded about the cities with their babies hanging at their breasts, and then thrown down from the top of the city wall. These are ruthless and evil the Greek people were, just like Jimmy the Greek. And so, let me keep reading. It said, others who had assembled in nearby caves to observe the Sabbath in secret were betrayed to Philip. You see that? We've had some of our own people betray our own people because they wanted to serve Yah, but out of fear of the enemy. How many people we had like that today? We got a lot of crooked people, brothers and sisters. They love the enemy more than they love their own creator. And it said, and betrayed to Philip, and to all burned to death. See, the ones that was had the enemy came at them so hard they had to secretly keep the Sabbath, but they was betrayed by their own family members. Let me keep reading. And were put to death. And their respect for the Kodeshness of that day, they had scruples about defending themselves. So our people didn't even want to fight at that time, even on the Sabbath, not on the Sabbath, because they know that was the day of rest. But you read the rest of the stories about the Maccabees, but I'm not going to get into that. It'll tell you more things, how some of the Maccabees told them to do on the Sabbath, so they would not all be destroyed. But nevertheless, they couldn't hold the enemy off for long. They all got put out of that land. But that was the last revolt of the Hebrew people in that land by the Maccabees, as far as on record. After that, our people vanished from out of that territory. And the Edomites came, set it. It's all in the scriptures, brothers and sisters. I'm not going to get into all of that right now. I just want to walk you through a short time period of 700 years from the prophet of Hosea and Isaiah that was in the same time period about both nations, the southern and the northern kingdom. And both of them, as I'm getting to Hosea at this time, brother and sister. So Hosea, let's get it and get started with this, bro. I'm make sure I got all my notes off the paper covered, because all of these things is very important. It said, Hosea chapter 1, verse 1 reads, these are the messages from Yah to Hosea. So now we know these messages come from our Yah. It's very important. So now we're going to get to the point of who going to believe Yah or who going to believe the wicked man that lied. Because Hosea exposed everything that the wicked man does, especially of the New Testament. And they plot to try to bring you a false Messiah. We got to know all what Abiyah said in his messages to these prophets. That's why it's on my mind. Let me read this real quick while it's on my mind. I'm going to go to the prophet Isaiah real quick, chapter 8. Chapter 8 and verse 20 reads, it's very important that I do this way. I didn't do this in the last video I made, but I'm doing it now to establish these things before your hearing. Chapter 8, and let me get there, brother. Give me a moment. Chapter 8 and verse 20 reads. I'm going to get two translations on this. I hope I got the other one right beside me. Okay. I'm going to read it from, right now, I'm reading from the Living Bible. Paraphrased by the published company, Williams, by Tinsdale Publishing Company. So I'm going to turn, and also I'm going to use the scriptures. I want to compare something so you can see it in two different writings that you can understand these things of Yah, the words of Yah. It's very important, brother and sister, at this time because the enemy lied to our people and we was under deception. A majority of us who pick up these scriptures, brothers and sisters, thinking that a Messiah already came. And they painted a beautiful picture, but when you hear the words of Yah in truth and honesty, you know, their time period was different from Yah time period. So let me get there, chapter 8 of Isaiah, but his real name is Yah. Yah saves, Yah, who do the save. So I'm going to start off with the scriptures first. And it reads, 8:20 reads, he said, 8:20, I'm going to start at 16 and read down. He said, bind up the witness, seal the Torah among my taught ones. See, it's very important, brothers and sisters. He said, seal the Torah. Anybody know what the Torah is? The first 5 books they call the Tanakh, the Torah. He said, seal these among my taught ones. He said, and I shall wait on Yah, who hides his face from the house of Yaakov, and I shall look for him. You see, surely the Abiyah left us for a moment when the day of Yah came upon Israel, Yah, and Yah, both. But it sealed this Torah among my taught ones. And I shall wait on Yah, who hides his face from the house of Yaakov, and I shall look for him. Then the Lord said, look, I and the children whom let me slow down. 18 said, look, I and the children whom Yah has given me for signs and wonders in Israel, Yah. If you go and look at any decent source, they're planning to tell these signs is talking about our names are for signs, have symbolical meanings, and show the plans of Yah, of the heavenly army. As we're going to get into these things. And Hosea put these things out plainly. So let me read it. For signs and wonders in Israel, Yah, from Yah of hosts. See, of Yah of hosts, heavenly army, who dwells in Mount Zion. So let me read. When they say to you, seek those who are, when they say to you, seek those who are mediums and wizards, who whisper and mutter, should not a people seek their Barak, who is creator? Should they seek the dead on behalf of the living? See, when all y'all saying dead, he talking about should they seek spiritually dead? They do not speak according to the words of Yah, the Torahs. So let me keep reading. 20, it said, to the Torah and to the witness. If they do not speak according to this word, it is because they have no, this would say no daybreak, but no light in them, period. at the footnote or light. This translation. So keep that in mind. This would Y'all give through the mouths of the prophets for us to speak and for us to receive. Only the law and the witness, which is the prophets. Seats of Yah. And nothing else, nothing more, nothing else. So now I'm going to look at this other translation right here called the Living Bible. Read the same verse, 16, chapter 8, verse 16 reads in the book of Isaiah. It said, write down all of these things I am going to do, say Yah, and seal it up for the future, and trust it to some righteously man to pass on down to rightfully men of the future generation. It said, I will wait for Yah to help us, though he is hiding now. My only hope is in him. I and the children of Barak has given me has symbolic names that reveal the plans of Yah, of heavenly army for his people. And it went on to say, Yahshua means Yah will save his people. Then it went on to say, Yahshua means a remnant shall return. See, Yahshua was Isaiah's first son that came to Ahaz in chapter 7 with him to tell him about the sign of Yah, about the baby birth. So keep that in mind. It said, a remnant shall return. Then it say, and then his second son name was Meher Shahazbaz, mean your enemies will soon be destroyed. Yes, see, that's when he gave this baby. When you go to chapter 8, I'm in chapter 8, earlier, it talks about how this baby was going to come and be a sign and show how the enemy of Ahaz, which is Israel, King Pekah, and Rizin, will be killed because they wanted to go and take the Yashalom. They wanted to go and remove Ahaz and set up a abominable king that was not of David's seed, to alter the covenant of Yah that he made with David. That's what it was about. That's why Yah was mad at he was watching the whole situation and told Ahaz not to be afraid. So, but the lion pen of the scribes, the Pharisees, the Christians, and whoever else concocted a story, fabricated a story, made up a story, and what they call the New Testament. That's why the New Testament bear record that it is a lie. Even in the book of Matthew, the first book they got on the docket, in the first chapter, I should go there. Straight bear record that they're lie, because I ain't gonna go there, but I tell you, when you read it, they would tell you an angel came to Mary and told her to name that child Jesus. Then they went on to say that fulfilled the prophecy that say this woman was gonna call the baby Emmanuel, but they got Emmanuel in the King James version, but Emmanuel totally contradicted right there. Two different statements. One was they quoted the true prophecy last and concocted and fabricated a story early about an angel of the Lord. That's how they got it in the King James. Angel of the Lord came to Mary. So the angel of Jesus came, of this baby came to Mary. That's how they have it. And told the name of Jesus. See, got you to worship Zeus all again, brothers and sisters. You don't even know it. The same thing what they forced in the time of the Maccabees period on our people. They bring it right back to you once again in another form, but it got you to doing the worship back is all again. That's what you're doing, brothers and sisters, but y'all don't know that. So the New Testament condemns itself and bear record that is alive within itself. And all of the Kodesh writing, the prophets condemn them as well. So, brothers and sisters, we right here. Let me finish this off real quick so I can get back to where I need to get to and get started and get deep into Hosea. So right here, brothers and sisters, we looking at. It said, in chapter 8, verse 18, it says, Shall Yashub means the remnant shall return. May hurt shall all Hashbaz means your enemy will soon be destroyed. So why are you trying to find out the future by consulting witches and mediums? It said, don't listen to their whispering or mutterings. Can the living find out the future from the dead? No. Why not? So it said, why not ask your Bara, your creator? 20 reasons. It said, check these witches' words against the words of Bara. You see that? He say, if their message are different than mine, it is because I have not sent them, for they have no light or truth in them. Then it went on to say in 21, my people will be led away captives and stumble and weary and hungry. And because they are hungry, they will rave and shake their fists at heaven and curse their king and their Bara. It said, wherever they look, there will be trouble and anguish and dark despair, and they will be thrusted out into outer darkness. You see that? That's where we are at now. In captivity, we are in outer darkness. We are among the sinners, the dark ones, the ones that don't even know Yah, brothers and sisters. But you see that 20. If their message are different than mine, see, where is his message? All of y'all messages is in the laws and the prophecies. The law and the prophecy, the only thing we have to get all of y'all message. That's why when a message is other than all of y'all, they would say something like, the angel came to Mary and said, call his name Jesus. When the father words came to Isaiah the prophet and said the mother gonna call him Emmanuel Yah. But that was for a sign for Ahaz. And it proved that right in chapter 7 and verse 16. Check these words out of Yah and check these witches. See, these are the witches and those who peep and mutter. Don't the Christians do that? They are witches and they peep and mutter. They call themselves speaking in tongues and all of these are the ones that peep and mutter, brothers and sisters. It's right there in the words of Yah. They tell you, these the peep and mutter crew. Yes, they call themselves what they call themselves, Pentecostal holiness. They peep and mutter, witches, wizards, yes, liars. That's who they are, brothers and sisters. So let me continue with the words of Yah and get to Hosea. Right here, and one say, these are the messages from Yah to Hosea, son of Beri, during the reigns of the 4 kings, see, of Yada. It said Uzziah, Yotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. And you go and read 7 chapter Isaiah, you'll see Isaiah was talking to King Ahaz. Show you. Hosea was living, and this prophet came during the reign, The messages came. He had many messages that came to him through the time period of the 4 kings of Yada. It said, and one of the kings of Israel, Jeroboam, son of Joash, where is the first message? Yah said to Hosea, see that? These are the important things, brothers and sisters, what we're getting into right here. Some deep stuff, heavy, that crushes everything concerning this false Messiah. These are the words what was spoken by Yah to Isaiah and Hosea. And then you can see as well, got a piece about Yarim Yah, that they say on Jeremiah in the King James Version. These are the words of Yah. Say, check my words. His words come from the prophets, not from no apostles of Jesus. That's all made up. His words come from the prophets of Yah. The laws we follow and the prophets we follow, the witness of Yah, that hold the counsel of Yah's words that was spoken. Let me get into it. Verse 2 is a hear the first message. Yah said to Hosea, I'm doing this in my car in the dock, and I see mosquitoes coming. I got my window down, so I'm about to just put up with the mosquitoes bite tonight. Because this video will probably be at least another 25 minutes. And this is part 1. But if it actually cut off me off before, then I'm gonna start off wherever it cut off at. But hopefully not. I can get to a certain point. I can stop and do video number 2. So verse 2 reads, here is the first message. Yah said to Hosea, go and marry a girl who is a prostitute, so that some of her children will be born to you from other men. This will illustrate the way the people have been untrue to me and committing open adultery against me by worshiping other gods. But the real word is Elohims. So keep that in mind, brothers and sisters. This has always got us in trouble. Turning from Yah to worship Elohims, or Els, or gods, or God. Because when it said worship other gods, if there was one God, it would just say worship God, one God. But it's worship many gods, Elohims. Verse 3, it says, so Hosea married Gomer, daughter of Debalim, and she conceived and bore him a son. And Yah said, name the child Yezreel. You see see the name again? What I read to you in Isaiah, how we have symbolic names that reveal the plans of Yah. That's what we see right here. It's saying Yah said, name the child Yezreel, for the valley of Yezreel I am about to punish King Yahu. Say in the valley. So there's a place called the Yezreel. So it said, in the valley of Yezreel I am about to punish King Yahu. And see, by the punish this king named Yahu, dynasty, to avenge the murders he committed. In fact, I will put an end to Israel as an independent nation, an independent kingdom. You see that? We talking about a time period. And they said right here, this prophecy, when this prophecy was made, they said 25 years later, it came to pass when the Syrian conquest of Israel. brothers and sisters. In the year of 722 BCE, a little bit over 2,700 years ago, that's when it took place, brothers and sisters. And even this king of Israel had a name called Yahu. Well, a lot of people look at this name and call it short form of the creator, when it's a compound word, Yahu. I forgot exactly what it means. I know it means Yah and the U means son. I can't think of it at the moment. But I did a video on this. Oh, I think it means Yah is he. It came back to mind. Yah is he. That's what it means. Showing once again the creator name right there in this king. When you break that Yahu, mean Yah is he. That's what it means. So this dynasty was broken. It said, I will put an end to Israel as a independent kingdom, breaking the power of the nation in the valley of Yezreel. See, named after his son. Keep that in mind as a reminder. It's a son. No, excuse me. Verse 6 reads, soon Gomer had another child. See, Hosea's wife had another child. This one, a girl. And Barah said, who is the creator, said to Hosea, name her Lo Ruhamah, meaning no more mercy. See, we're giving them no more mercy, no deliverance. And don't you know, when it probably was fulfilled 2,700 years ago, the northern nation never went back into that land? So let me keep reading. It said, for I will have no more mercy upon Israel to forgive her again. But I will have mercy on the tribe of Yada. And I will personally free her from her enemies without any help from her armies or her weapons. And remember I told you, this prophecy came to pass and was fulfilled to 113 years later. They went into Babylon and stayed there for 70 years. And Yah came and freed them. Without the aid from the army of Yada or their weapons. See, they didn't even have to fight to be free. So that came to pass. See, right now we're going through some deep history, brothers. We got to go through some history, some time periods to see all the truths of Yah and put everything in its proper order and place. It's very important, brothers and sisters. And so we have 8, verse 8. It says, after Gomer had weaned Lo Ruhamah, she again conceived. This time gave birth to a son, the third child. And Barah said, call him Lo Ami, meaning not mine. For Israel is not mine, and I am not her Barah. See, creator. Or it could have been not her husband. Because it was like a divorce separation because they committed adultery. That's what he was shown when he told Hosea to marry this woman. And saying this illustrates what we was doing to him. As our ancestor was his wife, figuratively speakingly, and he's the husband. So he said, I am not her husband, Barah. Let me go 10. He said, yet the time will come when Israel shall prosper and become a great nation. In that day, Her people will be too numerous to count, like the sand along the seashore. And like the sand upon the seashore. I got birds flying in here and everything. They see the light and they're drawn to the light. So let me find my place again, brothers and sisters. So I'm at the bug. I lost my place. So say, and other people will be too numerous to count, and like the sand along the seashore, then instead of saying to them, you are my people, I would tell them, you are my sons, the children of the living Bara. And then the people of Yada and Israel will, hey brothers right here, sisters, listen to this right here. It's very, a lot of people overlook this. It's in your translation. Remember what the Father said. This is chapter 1, and it's potent. I'm getting even potent in this, but this is potent right here enough. The totally squash everything dealing with the New Testament. And this is chapter 1 we at. Remember he said earlier that I will put an end to Israel as an independent nation, an independent kingdom. They will never be independent. They will never have a king over them, and y'all have their own king. So it could come a time period, but we right here at 11. Let me read it. Then the people of Yada, or you can say tribe, the tribe of Yada and Israel, Yah, will unite. That never occurred before. Brothers and sisters, since the time the kingdom got divided, and Jeroboam and Roboam and Jeroboam and Rehoboam time period. King Solomon's son, when the king got split, it never came back. Never. They was at each other. Even at each other, when the time the Father brought the prophecy in Isaiah chapter 7, and dropped it on Ahaz about a virgin birth in his time period for a sign for him, not to be afraid of the northern nation in Syria. You got to read that, the words of Yah. Remember, he says, it's not the words of Yah, there's no truth in these people. Let me read it. It said, then the people of Yada, the tribe of Yada and Israel will unite and have one leader. You get that, brothers and sisters? Israel, the northern tribe, never had another king when they got put out. Then we got put out numerous of times after. Then we got put out by Babylon and by in and out. Then we eventually got put out after the Maccabees period. We was vanished, and Edomites came in. I'm still working on that time period to get that locked down fully. But somebody know the time period for sure. Write it down for me. I'm gonna find out. I gotta rehearse that in my mind. It's so much to get, brothers and sisters. It said, and the people, the tribe of Yah and Israel will unite. See, brother, this is the message. This is the call. This is the true. Well, see, a lot of people don't know. No Messiah never came. The leader was coming at the time of our uniting. It's right here. See, it's the prophets we look at. All those other gods people got outside of the prophets is hogwash. And you know what swine is? Abominable thing. You can't put that on the altar. It's right here. It said, then the tribe of Yah and Israel will, not maybe, or will unite. We're going to unite, brothers and sisters, and have one leader. Some translators say, I read and I have, that we're going to choose a leader. But we already know the king only comes from out of Yada and from Dawi's seed. The leader, that's a fact. But we're going to unite and love, brothers and sisters. So I want y'all to think about this. I'm going to let this be part one. And I want to end it because this is a great point. And the most important point to end it off to give you something to think about for a minute. Rehearse this in your mind and think about this. Let me show you something real quick because I just got my sound, my battery getting low. I don't want this to lose this video too because I think I might cry if I lose this one. Because I put so much into these videos, brother and sisters. And it takes so much to upload it because I'm not set up yet. So let me get rim y'all. Jeremiah 23 and read something real quick. It's right here. It's 23. Let me find my place in verse 5. He said, "For the time is coming, say Yah, when I will place a righteous branch upon King David's throne." See, a righteous branch also means a righteous seed of King David. He gonna sit on the throne. See, anointed by Yah, and he shall be a king who shall rule with wisdom and justice and cause righteousness to prevail everywhere and throughout the earth. And this is his name, Yazikwah. See, they got the Lord our righteousness, and we know Lord is a made up word. It's Yah our righteousness, Yah our righteousness. And you find the meaning of Yah our righteousness, it is Yazikwah. According to the information I found, it's Yazikwah. That's the name of this king, this branch. It's at that time, Yada will be saved, and Israel will live in peace. You see that? You see the two nations come together. Let me go back. That's our real leader. At that time, let me read it. It said, "Then the people of Yada and Israel Yah will unite." See, the show we got to leave these places, bro. We got to unite. It's so urgent. This the P. I hope everyone get this. Once you hear my videos and understand these things in your mind, this is no greater calling but to unite. Ban the organization separates you from other people, of our people. We all got to unite because we got a lot to talk about, brothers and sisters. We got this one. There's going to be one, just like the Father said, that's going to lead us even back into that land, brothers and sisters. Let me read it. "Then the people of Yada and Israel will unite and have one leader." See, we're going to have one leader. "And they will return from exile together." You get this, brother? This not talking about some symbolical meaning. This not talking about some, like people like to talk about the spirit, the ruach. This is knowledge right here, wisdom, telling what we're going to do physically. We're going to have a physical leader. And it said, "They will return from exile together." What a day that will be. The day when Barah will sow his people. See, he will plant his people in fertile soil of their own land again. These are the words of Yah. These are the living words of Yah. Brothers and sisters, that is coming to you now. At this time, this one is given. At this time, this leader is given. The same time we uniting and making our aliyah, our exodus to go home. It's been a long time, 2,700 years, the northern nation lost its independence. And the next time, we all come together. There's going to be no more division. There's not going to be no more the northern hating the southern yada and want to do things in a different way. There could be no more king saying we're gonna make your work, your burden, your load heavier. That's what caused the separation in the beginning. Remember, I'll be out at the beginning because of what Solomon done. He said, because you married them foreign women, and you didn't walk up right with me, and he won't set up the Asherah pose and all this idolatry, Elohim worship, and your heart didn't fully walk with me. I'm gonna take away this kingdom from you. So I'll allow that situation to be set up, and he took the advice from his friends to make they work harder than your father and tell them this, and they didn't want to have that. Remember, it was all about in the northern mind a king that was gonna make their burden heavy. But this one, Yazikwat will not be like that. He gonna be righteous, and he gonna follow strictly the laws of order. He gonna know all these things. See what I'm saying, the brother and sister, is right here. And the nation, the northern nation, gonna notice because they know they lost their independence. See, that was just for a period of time, and that got snatched away from them because all the kings they had set up was wicked and evil, abominable to Yah. So he snatched them up out of it. They got worse and worse. Snatch them up, then snatch Yada up out of it. Wait till we get deep into this. This is just the touching the surface right now. But it's potent. The touching the surface snatched everything from the king, the New Testament away, right there. Showing the time period of our one. The leader we're going to have. And say them read it. Then the tribe of Yad and Israel will unite and have one leader. And they will return from exile together. You see that? And I didn't know chariots, brothers and sisters, that coming from heaven. These are the words of Yah. With that, come back and hear my second video, part 2. And we're going to continue off in chapter 2 of Hosea. Shalom.